the regional organizer for SONG, Southerners on the Ground, Nicole Townsend. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I am super excited to have you here to talk to us about Cash Money Bail and the Black Mama Bailout. So what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. As you mentioned, the Black Mama's Bailout. Southerners on New Ground, as well as a collective called the National Bailout Collective. This is our third year bailing out Black mothers and Black caregivers from local jails. SONG handles the Mamas in the South, and the National Bailout Collective, that is made up of 14 organizations, is across the country. So this week we've been bailing out Black mamas and caregivers. A lot of folks don't know this, but 60% of people sitting in their local jails have not been convicted of a crime. They are just sitting there because they cannot afford to pay their bail.
And so that means what? What does that mean for us?
What that means is essentially we're criminalizing folks for not having financial resources. So if you and I go out one night and we both get arrested and we both get the same charges and we get a bail set for $10,000, if I have $10,000, I can walk out that night. But if you don't have $10,000, you're literally just going to be sitting there until your court date.
Wow. So how, I'm sorry, I don't know much about how the bail system happens. Where does that money come from as the person to provide that money? How do you guys do it?
We do a lot of grassroots fundraising. So a lot of the ways that we raise our money is like, who has $5? Who has $3? Who has $10? Who can sell a fish plate? Who can wash some cars? Across I would say in the past month, we've been able to raise over $175,000 to bail out Black mamas and caregivers in Richmond, Virginia, Wilmington, North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. I mean, the list goes on. We have about 10 cities in the South that participated this year.
Wow, so you guys are working hard all the time.
Yeah.
And so I read in a book, I think it was Angela Davis's biography. I think she said that when she was imprisoned, she discovered around her there were many African American women whose bail were set at like just $500 and they couldn't get out. Is that sort of what you're still experiencing today?
That's true. We know there's been situations where there's been mamas, Black mamas, that are literally sitting in a cage over $100.
Oh, wow.
And here in Buncombe County, we paid a bail of $737. And for most people, that's less than their rent. And she'd been sitting in there for almost 2 months.
And then do you follow these women that you've helped get released until their court date? And then how you can be supportive to them during that situation, or what their recidivism rate is, or anything like that?
Yeah, so each person that we bail out of jail gets a 90-day caseworker. So they have a go-to person to help support their needs and help connect them to resources.
So do you all also help out with getting these women like a lawyer or someone who can properly defend them in court, or is that different?
So a lot of times, at least here in Buncombe County, the mamas that we bailed out have had public defenders. So we can intervene on like an advocacy level, but we also try not to overstep our boundaries. We make sure that we're not like, this is what you need. We're like, you tell us what you need. And so if there is an ask for that, we have a squad of lawyers that can support with legal advice.
Yeah, because do you think public defenders defend people of different ethnicities better or worse than white people, do you think?
I think it depends on the public defender. I think we also have to note that most public defenders have a ridiculous caseload and don't even spend a lot of time with the person that they're representing. And so that's an issue that has to be addressed as well.
Okay.
And cash money bail is just an issue that we face here in America. And I know that there's a call to end cash money bail. Can you explain to our audience why this is so important, why this is a national call, and why cash money bail is not what we want in our system?
Yeah, so just to be very clear, I'm an abolitionist. Southerners on New Ground, we're an abolitionist organization, and we know that it takes steps. And one of the first steps is eliminating the cash bail system. Imagine eliminating that system, and then 60 to 70% of people sitting in local jails could go home. When people are held on bail, and they can't afford it, a lot of times they get their children taken away from them, they lose their job, and they can actually lose their homes. And so we know this, the system of cash money bail is oppressive, and we also know that our law enforcement agents target Black folks and people of color.
Yeah. And I think it's important to understand when we're saying end cash money bail, we're not saying end, like change the law. We're saying when you're arrested, we all say you're innocent until proven guilty. But with cash money bail, there's another layer to it, because this is even before you go to trial. This is even before you get a chance to even plead guilty or innocent. You're locked away. Is that correct?
Yes, and as we're learning the system, this is only our third year participating in a bailout, and so what we're noticing is this system is different county to county, state to state. Some states allow their own counties to pass bail ordinances, and then in a place like North Carolina, this has to be a statewide fight. So we're noticing that it looks different it looks different wherever you live.
So how can people in Asheville get involved in what you're doing if they want to help?
For sure. Well, first, look up Southerners on New Ground on Facebook, like our page, follow the work, go to nationalbailout.org and learn about the efforts that are happening across the country. And I think now is the time to ask our county commissioners and our city council folks to fight for us on a state level, because we're tired of them saying this is a statewide fight. We want them to gear up and fight the state with us.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on today. We know you're tired. I've seen you across the state championing these moms, and we just want to say thank you for your work that you're doing. We are so proud of you, and we just honor you. So join us next week on the Asheville View.